Very well. Good morning, counsel. Ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. Mr. Chauncey, I believe, is on the stand. Here he is.
Your Honor, as Professor Chauncey is coming to the stand, I wanted to report that we're able to agree that all the exhibits that the plaintiffs wanted to move into evidence last evening, we have no objection. So if they have a list that they want to provide, we're fine with that. In addition, there was, I believe it was PX 1775, we had an authenticity objection to. We withdraw that authenticity objection. And I think Ms. Stewart had a better copy of it, and she can explain that situation.
All right, Ms. Stewart.
Good morning, Your Honor. Yesterday, Mr. Thompson was concerned that the exhibit that was in the binders was a black and white copy that was a little bit blurry. And so there's another exhibit that's been marked, that's the same document, that actually is in color and has no blurriness. I just wanted to ask the court for your preference. The plaintiff exhibit number that the cleaner copy is 2288. But I thought it might make sense to remark it is the same as the other exhibit so that the record is clear, because the witness referred to the document, and the blurrier version of it was exhibit
1775.
1775. So I can do whichever, but I thought what I would do is just mark these 1775, and during a break, substitute them in the binders that the court has so that we replace the blurrier copy with the clean one.
Why don't you instead file this as 1775A?
Perfect. Thank you, Your Honor. And also...
And the record will be complete as to which documents are being referred to.
If the court would allow me to, I had requested that the court allow me to have this list become an exhibit so that I could then ask the court to admit the documents that are on the list as Dr. Chauncey's sources rather than have him read those sources into the record just to spare us the extra time. And so I'd like to ask that the list that Mr. Thompson was referring to, that they have now agreed to, of exhibits that would come in through Mr. Chauncey to be marked. What are we up to in next in order for plaintiffs? Plaintiffs next order, guys?
What you have, I gather, is simply a list of those exhibits that are coming in.
Correct, Your Honor.
Why don't you just hand those to the court, to the clerk, and we will go through the exhibit list and we'll mark those as entered. And that should take care of the problem, should it not, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. I appreciate that, counsel. We're moving along. All right. Mr. Thompson? Mr. Thompson?
Yes. Called as a witness for the plaintiffs herein, having been previously duly sworn, was examined as testified as follows.
Now, Mr. Chauncey, you are still under oath. You do understand that, do you?
Yes, sir.
The oath you took yesterday applies to the testimony as it did to the testimony yesterday.
Yes.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Very well. Proceed.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Is it fair to say that as a historian you are most struck by how quickly public opinion is changing in regard to the recognition of same-sex relationships?
I think that as a historian, I'm struck both by change in opinion and by the polarization of American society and the roadblocks that have been put in place to prevent the achievement of marriage equality for gay couples.
Well, I'd like to direct your attention to tab 6 in your binder, which is excerpts from your book, Why Marriage, which has been introduced into evidence in the list that was just handed to the court. And I'd like to direct your attention to page 10II in Roman numerals so that this would be the introduction. So it's tab 6, and then Roman numeral XII, which is toward the beginning in the introduction. Tell me when you're there, Professor. I don't mean to rush you.
Yes.
Okay. And so you said in the first full paragraph, nonetheless, as a historian, I am most struck by how quickly public opinion is changing in regard to the recognition of same-sex relationships. You wrote that, correct?
I did write that. I wrote that in 2004.
The question is just whether you wrote that. On redirect, you can explain whatever you like. And when you wrote that, you agreed with it, correct?
Yes, I thought of this in 2004.
Yes, okay, very well. Now, in 2002, Gallup did a poll that showed that even though 44% of people said homosexuality was an unacceptable alternative lifestyle, 86% thought homosexuals should have equal rights in terms of job opportunities, correct?
I'm sorry, which year did you mention?
2002. I can repeat the question if you like. In 2002, Gallup did a poll that showed that even though 44% of the people said homosexuality was an unacceptable alternative lifestyle, 86% thought homosexuals should have equal rights in terms of job opportunities. Is that right?
I'd have to look at the source again, but that seems possible to me.
Okay. And the contrast was even more striking among African Americans, who were more supportive of gay civil rights than whites, even though they also expressed more moral disapproval of homosexuality, correct?
I remember that being a general trend.
And when Matthew Shepard was murdered, it provoked a national outcry, correct?
It received considerable attention, yes.
And it was clear that a profound change had taken place, correct?
Well, I believe that I was referring there to a growing recognition of the problem of violence against gay people, and that it ought to be considered a problem, even though it continued at considerable length.
But there had been a remarkable growth in acceptance of gay people in our own time, correct? There has been?
Well, as I think I've said throughout my work, there's been both a growth and a growing of support for gay people and a growing polarization in American society over gay issues.
As recently as 2000, civil unions seemed like a radical idea, correct?
Yes.
And in Vermont, Governor Howard Dean was denounced for supporting civil unions at the beginning of the last decade, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But every major Democratic candidate for president supported civil unions in the 2004 primary, correct?
They supported civil unions, but not marriage.
And that would have been unthinkable just 4 years earlier, correct?
It did mark a change, yes.
Indeed. Even President George W. Bush sought to moderate his image by supporting the rights of states to enact civil unions for gay couples, correct?
In a roundabout way, yes.
And more telling evidence of the growing public support for gay couples was provided by several state legislatures, correct?
You'll have to tell me what you're referring to here.
Well, the legislatures of New Jersey and Maine passed laws providing a degree of recognition and security to gay couples, correct?
Yes, there were a handful of states that did that, while many others enacted significant barriers to marriage.
And California has enacted a sweeping domestic partnership law that granted registered gay couples all of the state benefits available to married couples. Yes or no?
Yes.
In 2004, exit polls showed that 60% of voters nationwide support either civil unions or marriage for gay couples, correct?
Yes, I believe it was about half of those for marriage and then others just for civil unions. So they drew a distinction between the two.
Are you aware of any more recent polling data on that issue?
I can't give you the particulars on the most recent polls. My sense is that broadly there's still about a third supportive of marriage and about a third support civil unions or domestic partnership, but not marriage.
And the generational shift is especially noteworthy. Americans in their late teens and 20s are 4 times more likely to support same-sex marriage than their grandparents are, correct?
I believe that that figure was true at one point. I think that trend is generally true. It's, of course, hard to know what will happen with that trend, but that would be a fair assessment of current polling data.
The years stretching from the spring of 2003 to the spring of 2004 were a decisive turning point in the history of lesbian and gay men in the United States, correct?
Well, I believe that when I said that, I was referring to both the recognition of marriage by Massachusetts state court and the enormous debate that emerged. And so it was a decisive turning point in the sense that the issue had really been brought to the fore. And, of course, tremendous opinion was generated, but as well as support.
And it's hard to think of another group whose circumstance and public reputation has changed so decisively in so little time, correct?
I think in looking back over the last generation, it is really striking how much has changed and how many impediments remain before gay people and how strong resistance has been to that change.
Above all, there's been a sea change in the attitudes of the young who have grown up in a world where they know gay people and see them treated with the respect any human deserves, correct?
I think there's been a change on the part of young people, yes.
Okay. I'd like to direct your attention to tab 9 in your binder. And this is a website entitled beyondhomophobia.com. It's written by Dr. Heyck, who is an expert in this case. And do you know of Dr. Herrick's reputation?
Yes.
All right. He has a solid reputation in his field.
Yes.
All right. I'd like to direct your attention to page 4 of this document by Professor Heyck. And looking at the 4th paragraph from the bottom, the 2nd sentence reads, "The widespread opposition to Proposition 8 and the fact that proponents of the measure have been so carefully not to publicly bash sexual minorities are signs of a sea change in public attitudes." Do you agree with Professor Heyck?
Well, as I suggested yesterday, I do think that the Prop 8 campaign, and certainly in its most public official manifestations, was more polite than many of the earlier campaigns. Although I believe they also drew on some of those fears that were resident because of those earlier campaigns.
In the colonial era, sodomy law regulated conduct in which anyone could engage, correct?
I'm sorry, repeat?
Just
Repeat yourself?
Yes, in the colonial era, sodomy laws regulated conduct in which anyone would engage, correct?
Well, again, there were variations amongst the states as sort of a general rubric. That would be fine, but that would be qualified by looking at the laws that affected, primarily, that regulated male sexual behavior.
The prohibition against sodomy was not the same thing as anti-gay discrimination, correct?
Yes, as I said yesterday, it was not the same thing.
Although anti-gay discrimination is popularly thought to have ancient roots. In fact, it was a unique and relatively short-lived product of the 20th century, correct?
Well, as I suggested, the hostility towards such behavior could be seen in the sodomy laws, even though they didn't apply just to homosexual conduct. But in that sentence, I was referring to the construction of an edifice of anti-gay discrimination and hostility in the context of the 20th century, when the categories of gay and straight, heterosexual and homosexual became culturally powerful.
But you agree with the sentence I read, correct?
If you would read the sentence again, please.
Sure. The prohibition against sodomy was not the same thing as anti-gay discrimination, correct?
Yes.
All right. And sorry, although anti-gay discrimination is popularly thought to have ancient roots, in fact, it is a unique and relatively short-lived product of the 20th century, correct?
Well, there again, I'm drawing a distinction between hostility towards behavior and discrimination against a class of people based on that, defined by that behavior. And so, in that sense, yes, discrimination is a product of the 20th century.
And the states began to enact discriminatory measures in the 1920s and 30s against homosexuals, correct?
Yes.
Now, in your direct, you mentioned you discussed discrimination in the context of bars. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And gay bars were an important battleground in the post-war years, correct?
Yes. Beginning
in the 1930s and 1940s, many states, including California, prohibited gay people from being served in bars and restaurants, correct?
Yes.
But raids on bars of gays and lesbians are a thing of the past in California today, correct?
Now, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. I mean, clearly they are not a part of the landscape now in the way they were then.
So that's, and indeed, throughout the United States, gays and lesbians are free to go, are legally entitled to go to any bar they wish to, correct?
They are now. Well, I guess that in half the states, there's still no laws prohibiting discrimination against them. So they could still be ejected in bars in, let's say, half the states.
Are you aware of any police raids on any bars in the United States that have taken place in the last 10 years because the bar was serving gays and lesbians?
Well, last summer, the police did arrest a number of patrons at a bar in Fort Worth, Texas. And there was a big controversy about why they had done this.
And any other incidents in the last 10 years?
Not that I can think of now.
And let's turn to the medical community and the discrimination that was present there in the early part of the 20th century. Leading physicians and medical researchers claimed that homosexuality was a pathological condition or disease, correct?
Yes.
Almost all of the medical literature on homosexuality in the earliest 20th century considered it to be a pathological condition or disease, correct?
Yes.
But the medical literature was incorrect. Isn't that right?
Well, certainly researchers today would say yes, that literature was incorrect.
Such hostile medical pronouncements provided a powerful source of legitimation to anti-homosexuality sentiment, correct?
Yes.
Such medical pronouncements were themselves a manifestation of discrimination against gays and lesbians, correct?
They reflected that and enhanced it.
But the major institutions that once helped legitimize anti-gay hysteria have changed their positions today, correct?
Well, could you talk about particular institutions? That's a very general question.
Well, let's turn to tab 10. in your binder. Do you recall that you put in a declaration in the California same-sex marriage cases?
Yes.
And is tab 10, if you turn to page 16, is that your signature?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd like you to look at page 12, paragraph 28. In the second sentence, you say, major institutions that once helped legitimize anti-gay hysteria have changed their positions. And you wrote that, right?
Well, I did write that. But I'd like to be able to talk about particulars rather than...
All right.
Yes, I'll say major institutions. That's a very general statement.
Well, for example, the American Psychiatric Association in 1973 voted to remove homosexuality from its list of mental disorders, correct?
Yes.
And the American Psychological Association and the American Medical Association soon followed, correct?
Yes.
And today, leading physicians, medical researchers no longer claim that homosexuality is a pathological condition, correct?
Yes.
And for more than 35 years, the leading American mental health associations have made clear that homosexuality is not a pathological condition or disease, correct?
Yes.
Now let's talk about discrimination in academia. You received your undergraduate degree from Yale, is that correct?
Yes.
And you graduated in 1977, is that correct?
Yes.
And you got your PhD from Yale in 1989, is that correct?
Yes.
After a couple of years, you went to the University of Chicago and taught there for 15 years. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And then you returned to Yale as a tenured professor, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And since returning, you've been astonished to see how much Yale has changed. Is that right?
Yes, I have noted many changes at Yale.
And almost all of that change has been for the better, correct?
That's my sense, yes.
One of the most remarkable transformations has been in the place of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students and faculty, correct?
Yes.
As a graduate student, even with the support of a prominent historian like Nancy Cott, you encountered considerable skepticism when you decided to write a dissertation in gay history, correct?
Yes.
But 20 years later, Hale hired you precisely because of that scholarship, correct?
Yes.
And Hale is a hospitable place to be gay, correct?
Yes.
And this change hasn't occurred at Yale alone, correct?
It hasn't occurred at Yale alone, although I would hardly take Yale as a bellwether for the entire United States.
Thank heavens. There has been a sea change in the place of lesbians, gays, bisexual, and transgender people in American society in the last generation, correct?
As I've already said, I noted dramatic changes in the place of gay people in American society. That's also included dramatic escalation and opposition to gay rights.
Now, let's talk about discrimination in the news media. And I would like to direct your attention to tab 12 in your binder. And this is an excerpt from a report by Kenneth Miller. And it shows on the second page the 15 largest newspapers by circulation in the state of California, and all of them were opposed to Proposition 8. Is it fair to say that the news media in California is supportive of gay rights?
You show these editorials, and I'm sure these editorials were there. I don't find I'm in a position to broadly characterize the news media in California.
Okay. Do you read the New York Times with some frequency?
I do read the New York Times.
All right. The New York Times is supportive of the rights of gays and lesbians, correct?
Yes, the editorial pages of the Times are supportive of those rights.
And it's one of the most influential papers in the United States, correct?
For many people. And, of course, it's reviled by many others.
I understand that. Let's talk about television. In your report in this case, you drew on statistics concerning the number of regular gay characters in television, melodramas, and sitcoms in the 1990s. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you found there was an increase in the number of regular gay characters in television, melodramas, and sitcoms, correct?
Yes.
And during the 1990s, gay and lesbian characters were a regular part of the television landscape, correct?
I think that by the end of the 90s, they had become that, yes.
And gay people became part of the cultural landscape, even for the people without openly gay friends, correct?
I think more than had been the case before, yes.
And this dramatically changed the dominant representation of homosexuals, correct?
It certainly put forward a wider range of images. Some people have been critical of many of those images. They feel that they rehearse certain stereotypes, ominous ones I discussed yesterday, and not those, but the more gender-bending ones. But yes, I do think that they increase the range of images available to people, even though certain other images persisted.
And it didn't just increase the range. It dramatically changed the dominant representation of homosexuals, correct?
Yes. By increasing the variety of images, it did mean that there were many images out there, as opposed to a handful of just hostile images.
And some of the images, Will and Grace, was an immensely popular TV show.
Will and Grace was an immensely popular TV show.
And you didn't think it bore anti-gay hostility, did you?
No, I did not. I know some people feel it played on some sort of comedic role of gay people.
Well, let's talk about movies. In your direct testimony, you referenced a censorship code that Hollywood used to have. Is that right?
Yes.
And it was replaced in the 1960s with rating systems we're accustomed to know today. Is that right?
Yes.
And when the censorship code was no longer in effect, it meant that there could, for the first time in a long time, it was possible to discuss homosexuality overtly, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that it was important that there were films that included gay characters, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The movie Philadelphia was the first Hollywood studio film to address AIDS, correct?
Yes. Certainly the first large budget film to do so, yes.
And it was a huge success, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was in 1993.
Yes.
And more recently, Brokeback Mountain was a box office success, right?
Yes, although I'm actually struck by how few such movies there are. But yes, it was.
And it received numerous awards, did it not?
I believe so.
Okay. Now let's talk about some of the governmental discrimination that you referenced during your direct testimony. In the 1980s, gay rights activists secured the enactment of gay rights ordinances in 40 cities, counties, and suburbs, bringing the total to 80. Is that right?
Yes.
And there are more today, aren't there?
Yes.
Just recently, Salt Lake City passed an ordinance that extended protection against discrimination in the workplace to gays and lesbians. Is that right?
I was not aware of that, but I'm sure it's true if you say it is.
In California, over the last decade, there has been a consistent track record of the legislature voting in favor of extending rights to gays and lesbians. Is that correct?
I'd have to review the California record more fully to give you an adequate answer to that, but certainly there have been a number of votes in the California State Legislature supportive of gay rights.
And in looking at the federal government, it's true that the federal government once prohibited the employment of homosexuals, correct?
Yes.
But today, the federal government now prohibits its agencies from discriminating against homosexuals in employment, correct?
Well, the military continues to discriminate against homosexuals in its employment.
We'll talk about that. But with that footnote, federal agencies are prohibited from discriminating against gays and lesbians, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In the House of Representatives, gays and lesbians have a powerful ally in Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
What do you mean by an ally, a powerful ally?
Well, someone who is a champion of their cause.
Well, I'm not sure I would accept that assessment. There are a range of issues that gay rights groups have put before the Congress that they would like to see put forward. And with the exception of the hate crimes law, they have not moved forward. So I think that many people would question how powerful an ally Nancy Pelosi has been to the gay rights movement.
Didn't the House of Representatives pass ENDA, the Employment Non-Discrimination Act?
Has the House of Representatives passed that?
Yes. Well, we'll move on. No lawmaker would grant a homosexual a hearing in the 1950s, correct?
Right. No lawmakers would grant a hearing to homosexuals.
But today, Congressman, you would concede that Congressman Barney Frank is a powerful ally of gays and lesbians, correct?
I would agree that he is a strong supporter of gay rights, so he has often been criticized by gay rights groups.
And Senator Boxer is an ally of gays and lesbians?
Well, in what sense do you mean an ally of gays and lesbians?
Someone who supports their causes.
I would need to review the particulars of her record, although I think she's been supportive of some issues, but I would need to look at her record in particular.
Over the last decade, labor unions have consistently supported the rights of gays and lesbians, correct?
Well, that's a very large generalization, and I'm not sure when you say that, do you mean support in the sense of passing a resolution, or support in the sense of mobilizing their activists to go out and support a particular bill,
or giving money?
Referendum?
I mean, unions gave a lot of money to defeat Prop 8, isn't that right?
I don't know that, but I would have to ask what level of support you're talking about. I don't know that unions, even if they have passed a resolution, if they have actually dedicated resources that, both in volunteer power, staffing, mobilization of people, and money.
Now, you believe that the federal government was slow to respond to the AIDS crisis, correct?
Yes.
And in your opinion, the association of this disease with a despised group is a significant part of why the government responded so slowly, correct?
I do think that that's one of the reasons, yes.
And funding of AIDS research is an important priority to the gay and lesbian community, correct?
Yes.
It's fair to say that even today, the majority of Americans would still think that homosexuals would be more likely to have AIDS than heterosexuals, correct?
I haven't seen that site, but I imagine that's the case.
And if we look at the level of funding today for AIDS research, it has increased dramatically since the early days of the AIDS crisis, correct?
Yes, though, of course, any increase would be dramatic, given how little there was initially, yes.
Do you have a rough idea as to how much money a year the federal government spends on AIDS research?
No, but I do think it's a significant amount.
Now, you testified that not all states have bans on discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. But isn't it true that thousands of private employers have adopted non-discrimination measures?
Many have. Certainly, it could be thousands.
All right. Let's look at your California report, which was behind tab 10, paragraph 28. It's page 13. And you say, in the third full sentence, a substantial number of cities and counties have prohibited discrimination based on sexual orientation. Thousands of private employers have adopted similar measures. And that was true when you wrote that?
It must have been. I would have just reviewed that literature at that time, which I haven't just done now.
Okay. Local gay rights ordinances became, in the 1980s, an important barometer of public attitudes toward homosexuality, correct?
Yes.
Local gay rights ordinances also became an important barometer of the relative strength of pro- and anti-gay forces, correct?
Yes. In the context of those referendum battles over gay rights laws, yes.
The efforts of gays and lesbians collectively constituted a massive and remarkably successful grassroots campaign to challenge the misconceptions and daily habits sustaining anti-gay bigotry, correct?
I think over the sweep of the last generation, yes, it is remarkable, the change that's been produced, even as it's produced a reaction.
As a result of both individual and collective efforts, gay political clout has grown in many parts of the country, correct?
I'm sorry.
Sure. As a result of both individual and collective efforts, gay political clout has grown in many parts of the country, correct?
Yes, certainly in parts of the country, yes.
And a growing number of heterosexuals have taken up the causes, have taken up gay causes as their own, correct?
Yes, more heterosexuals have come to support gay rights, yes.
Although the statistics are imprecise, the best figures we have now, in your opinion, are that somewhere between 2 and 5% of the population is gay and lesbian, correct?
Yes.
And the support for the 2 to 5% number comes from a study by the University of Chicago researcher Edward Lauman, correct?
Yes, as I recall, it's in the 2 to 3% category.
It was one of the most highly regarded of the studies that were conducted at the time in the 90s, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would move the admission. This is a plaintiff's expert, exhibit PX 943. It's the Edward Lauman study that was just referenced. We would ask the court to take judicial notice of it.
PX 943.
43.
Mr. Olson?
No objection, Your Honor.
Very well, 943 is admitted. And
even as early as 1992, there was a distinct shift towards support for gay people evident in the presidential election year when gay issues moved to the center of the national debate for the first time, correct?
Well, I think that in 1992, yes. On the one hand, you had a major presidential candidate, Bill Clinton, who voiced support for gay rights more forcefully than it had been done in the past. And you had a very strong conservative position in the Republican Party on gay rights.
And President Clinton became the first president to appoint openly gay officials, correct?
Yes.
And, in fact, he appointed more than 150 openly gay officials to his administration, correct?
Yes.
President Clinton issued executive orders banning discrimination in the federal workplace on the basis of sexual orientation, correct?
Yes.
And President Clinton issued executive orders barring the use of sexual orientation as a criterion for determining security clearance, correct?
Yes.
And you've stated that, and you would agree that, at the national level, gay advocates remained relatively powerless to win gay right protections in the 1990s, correct?
Yes.
And when you use the phrase relatively powerless, what you mean is gay activists and their supporters have reached the point where they could at least have their issues considered, but they had not achieved the power to win the proposals that they put forward at the federal level or to defend them against determined opposition. Yes or no?
Yes.
The federal government now prohibits agencies from discriminating against homosexuals in employment, correct?
Yes.
And surveys of the largest employers in the United States show that more than 90% of them have adopted anti-discrimination measures that protect the rights of gays and lesbians, correct?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. I think it misstates the testimony.
I beg your pardon.
Never mind.
Objection withdrawn.
And in the past, state and local, the governments used to try to ferret out and discharge their homosexual employees, correct?
Yes.
But that's no longer the case today, correct?
No. Those employees still report large levels of discrimination. But no, they do not. They are not ferreted out by state agencies now.
And federal and local agencies in the past sought to curtail gay people's freedom of speech, correct?
Yes.
But that's no longer the case today, correct?
Correct.
And homosexuals used to be barred from entry into the United States, correct?
Correct.
But that's no longer the case today, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, let's talk about don't ask, don't tell. During the Second World War, the armed forces put in place screening mechanisms to ferret out homosexuals during the induction process, correct?
Yes.
The military, however, no longer tries to screen out homosexuals during the induction process, correct?
I assume that's the case. I don't understand the exact workings of this.
Military police used to cooperate in anti-vice raids against gay bars and other meeting places, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
But the military or police no longer conduct anti-vice raids against gay bars, correct?
I assume that's correct.
You testified yesterday that the don't ask, don't tell policy was a compromise. Is that right?
Yes.
And Your Honor, if I may, I think we have some additional, an additional binder. May I get that and pass that around?
Yes. Of course.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's too bad we're not all in the notebook business.
And, Professor, I would like to direct your attention to tab 14A. It actually says Exhibit A, but it's after 14, and specifically to pages 9 and 10 of this document, which is produced by the Congressional Research Service. It's entitled, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the Law and Military Policy on Same-Sex Behavior. We can see that when President Reagan was the president, close to 2,000 individuals in 1982 were discharged from the armed services, correct?
Yes.
And in the year immediately before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was put in place, 949 individuals were discharged in 1991, right?
I'm sorry, which page?
Sorry, if you turn the page.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay? In 2008, under President George W. Bush, only 634 individuals were discharged, correct?
That's correct, although I believe that the size of the military has declined. So as I look at the percentages, they go up and down, and we have roughly the same percentage being discharged in 2008 as were discharged in 1989.
But as compared to President Reagan, in 1982, it's less than half, correct?
A little bit more than, yes, that was the high point under Ronald Reagan.
You're referring to what page, Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
10?
Page 9 has the Reagan numbers, and page 10 has the more recent numbers, Your Honor.
Right. Of course, another one of the Reagan numbers is from 1988, where it's roughly the same percentage discharged as in 2008.
And in your report, you truncated your analysis at the year 2000. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, let's look at the role of courts and the level of discrimination that's been directed against gays and lesbians in the courts, Professor. Courts used to be able to confine individuals deemed in need of a cure for what was termed their homosexual pathology, correct?
Yes.
That doesn't happen anymore, does it, in this country?
No, I don't believe it does.
So that's a form of discrimination that's vanished, correct?
I don't, yes.
And was the Supreme Court's decision in Bowers versus Hardwick, in your opinion, itself a reflection of moral disapproval of gays and lesbians?
Well, certainly there were indications in the supportive opinions of that, but in a way they construed the sodomy law at issue itself and made it an anti-homosexual law, when in fact it was a law that penalized heterosexual as well as homosexual intercourse of certain kinds.
Courts in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Iowa, California have all held that gays and lesbians have a constitutional right to marry under their state constitutions, correct?
Yes.
And those court decisions reflect increased level of support for the rights of gays and lesbians, correct?
Well, I think those court decisions reflect the rulings of the decisions of those courts, that there was a guarantee of equality, equal protection, and they themselves may not have reflected growth of support. They certainly went against much public opinion.
Now, let's talk about religion and discrimination against gays and lesbians. The first American laws against homosexual conduct were rooted in the earliest English settlers' understanding of the religious and secular traditions that prohibited sodomy, correct?
Yes.
And what were the secular traditions that prohibited sodomy?
Well, those grew out of the English Reformation, Parliament's secularization of the law.
And Puritan New England penalized many forms of carnal knowledge, including adultery, fornication, and men lying with men, correct?
Yes.
And Puritan clergy in the New England colonies were especially vigorous in their denunciation of sodomy as contrary to God's will, correct?
Yes.
The condemnation of the Puritan clergy was motivated by the pressing need to increase the population and to secure the stability of the family, as well as their reading of the Scripture, correct?
That is what a number of historians have argued, and I think it's probably correct.
And the Puritans had no concept of homosexuals as a distinct minority of humankind, correct?
They certainly, the Puritan clergy did not. This was not a term available to them. You know, it gets a little more complex when we look at the reality of sort of the on-the-ground engagement with people. But yes, there was no concept of a homosexual as such.
And Puritans believed that all men and women were children of fallen humanity and thus sinners, correct?
Yes.
And even today, conservative Christian traditions teach that all men and women are sinners, correct?
Yes.
We all know how divided our churches are today over the issue of homosexuality, correct?
Yes.
Religious attitudes have begun to change, though, correct?
Yes.
In the 1970s, many mainline Protestant denominations issued official statements condemning discrimination against homosexuals and affirming that homosexuals ought to enjoy equal protection under criminal and civil law, correct?
Yes. Of course, as I go on to say in the passage you were quoting, They continue to debate the place of gay people in the religious life of the church, and they represent a fairly small percentage of religious affiliations in the United States.
Several of these groups descended from the historically influential denominations whose religious authority has been invoked to justify colonial sodomy statutes and the policing of homosexuality as one more sign of urban vice. Correct?
Yes.
Christian right's fierce opposition to gay rights is already a minority position among Protestant denominations, correct?
You know, I think I wrote that, and I'm not sure that that's correct.
But you did write that.
Yes, and I do occasionally make mistakes.
The Lutheran Church in America has issued a statement in support of gay rights, correct?
Yes.
The Unitarian Universalist Association has issued a statement in support of gay rights, correct?
Yes.
The United Methodist Church has issued a statement in support of gay rights, correct?
Yes.
The United Church of Christ has issued a statement in support of gay rights, correct?
Yes.
The Protestant Episcopal Church has issued a statement in support of gay rights,
Yes.
correct? The Disciples of Christ has issued a statement in support of gay rights, correct?
Yes.
The United Presbyterian Church in the United States has issued a statement in support of gay rights, correct?
Yes.
Many clergy have offered their support to gays and lesbians by making their churches available for gay meetings, correct?
Yes.
And the Unitarians, Quakers, and Methodists were especially noted for this, correct?
Yes.
In the last generation, a growing number of faiths have begun to celebrate the marriages of same-sex couples, correct?
Yes, although it still encompasses a tiny percentage of people, religious affiliations in the United States.
On the day same-sex marriage became legal in Massachusetts, the Unitarians reformed Judaism, Reconstructionist Judaism, and the Metropolitan Community Church encouraged their clergy to officiate at such weddings, correct?
Yes, and altogether that would account for churches representing a very small percentage of the American population.
I would like to ask permission to play a video on the screen if possible. This is DIX 2648. It's a short video relating to the D.C. City Council just passed a bill permitting same-sex marriage in the District of Columbia. Were you aware of that, Professor?
Yes.
And the signing was in a church. Were you aware of that?
No.
Can we
I'm sorry, what is the number again?
yes, it's thank you. It's DIX 2648.
Is this in evidence?
Well, I hope that it will be in evidence, but we'd like to play it and then.
Do you want to play it before it's in evidence?
But either way, we would ask the court to take judicial notice of this video that comes from the Washington Post website, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Stewart?
Your Honor, I would like to reserve objection until we see the video. I'm not familiar with it.
Fair enough. One of the advantages of a bench trial.
Now, does the signing of the D.C. bill allowing same-sex marriage in a church symbolize the growing support for same-sex marriage among certain faiths?
Excuse me. As I've said, yes, there is a growing support in the churches, although those churches represent a very small percentage of people with religious affiliation in the United States. So there is a growing debate, but the churches are still opposed to this.
Ms. Stewart, objection to 2648.
Yes, Your Honor, I would just object to its admission into evidence because I don't think it's relevant. It shows very little. It doesn't give any sense of. We saw two religious leaders supporting marriage equality. I don't think that's a terribly relevant fact.
Very well. Well, the witness has addressed a matter that's referred to it. I think I'll admit it for the value that it may have. 2648 will be admitted.
Now, mean evangelical Christians continue to oppose same-sex marriage, correct?
Yes.
But it is less acceptable to demonize homosexuals today than it used to be, correct?
Yes, I believe in many circles it is.
And Rick Warren is a prominent evangelical minister, is that correct?
Yes.
He wrote the Purpose-Driven Life, is that correct?
Yes.
It's a big bestseller, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
And let's hear what Well, I'd like the court's permission to play a short video from Rick Warren. I'm not intending, Your Honor, to offer it into evidence. I just want to get the reaction from the witness as to how this compares in the history of discrimination. He spoke yesterday about what Jerry Falwell, one of the leaders of the Christian right, said about homosexuals in the 1950s. I'd like to ask him whether Pastor Warren's comments here reflect a change in attitudes among the religious community that continues to support or oppose same-sex marriage.
Ms. Stewart.
Your Honor, I would like to reserve my objection because I haven't determined whether we've worked out our authentication issues on authentication issues on this document. We may have, but I'm afraid I don't know at this moment. So I don't want to get in the way of the witness showing it, but I may object to its admission. I don't know if it's an authentication.
Let's deal with the matter after
Yes.
we've heard the excerpt and the witness has been asked to address it.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Professor, this represents a stark shift from the rhetoric of Jerry Falwell when Rick Warren talks about love and respect for all people, correct?
Did he say love?
He did, Your Honor.
He talked about freedom of choice. He talked about a lifestyle. His suggestion was that homosexuality is a choice. He did not demonize gay people, but he also clearly did not think that their relationships deserve to be treated as equal to heterosexual relationships.
Now, bottom line of all the discussion we've had this morning is that there has been a significant shift in public opinion toward acceptance of gay people, correct?
There has been a shift in public opinion and growing support for gay people, and gay people continue to encounter menaced hostility.
Now, in terms of the level of discrimination against gays and lesbians in California, you would agree that there are certainly many indications that large numbers of gay people have left more hostile settings for the relative openness of California, correct?
There are indications that people have migrated here because it's less hostile to them than where they came from.
And California has more protections for gay and lesbians against discrimination than any other state, correct?
I don't know that as a precise fact, but there are certainly many protections in California.
Now, you were asked yesterday about the purposes and effect of Proposition 8, and more generally, you had some preparatory remarks about, I believe, 60 ballot initiatives that were directed at gays and lesbians. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And how many of those 60 ballot initiatives were in California?
I'm not sure, and I wasn't bringing... I think in that particular figure, I was basing it on something that had not come into the last decade. But so I'm not sure precisely. There were several.
And do you know what the winning percentage was for the gay and lesbian community in California as opposed to the rest of the country was?
I'm sorry, could you reformulate that question?
Didn't you testify yesterday that 2/3 of the initiatives had prevailed against the will of the gay and lesbian community?
I testified that 3/4 had.
3/4, I apologize, yes. But you know what the percentage is for California?
No, I don't.
But the Briggs Initiative, that came before the people in California in the 1970s, correct?
Correct.
It would have prohibited public school teachers from saying anything that could be construed as advocating homosexuality, correct?
Correct.
And gay rights groups opposed the Briggs Initiative, correct?
Gay rights groups and many teachers groups were very concerned about this, and even noted politicians opposed to it.
Like Ronald Reagan?
Like Ronald Reagan, yes. That seemed a quite ominous censorship of teachers.
And the people of California sided with the gay rights groups in rejecting the Briggs Initiative, correct?
Yes.
Now, as I mentioned, you were also asked about the purposes behind Prop 8. And I would like to quote from you something that President Obama said in his book, The Audacity of Hope, where he said, "I believe that American society can choose to carve out a special place for the union of a man and a woman as the unit of of child rearing most common to every culture." In your opinion, do President Obama's views on same-sex marriage reflect moral disapproval of gays and lesbians?
I believe that they reflect a sense that gay relationships are not equal to heterosexual relationships, that they don't deserve that same recognition.
That's almost definitionally and tautologically true. My question is in terms of his motivation. And you spoke to the purposes behind Prop 8, which is why I'm asking you this. Do you believe that the statement of President Obama reflects moral disapproval of gays and lesbians?
I'm reluctant to plumb the mind of a presidential candidate, but it's hard for me to assess, but Barack Obama mentioned that.
Is it possible for someone to have the position that he articulated and not to morally disapprove of gays and lesbians?
It would be possible. Certainly, though, as I've said, I believe it reflects a belief in the inequality of lesbian and gay relationships.
I would like to direct your attention to tab 16 in your binder, which is the California Supreme Court's decision in the remarriage decisions. And in particular, I would like to direct your attention to footnote 73, which appears on page 61, I believe, in this printout. And as you'll recall, Professor, this decision dealt with the validity of Proposition 22. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me when you're there.
Okay.
Okay. In the first sentence, the Supreme Court of California said, "We emphasize that in reaching this conclusion," meaning the conclusion of invalidating Prop 22, "we do not suggest that the current marriage provisions were enacted and as in devious intent or purpose." Do you agree that Prop 22 was not enacted with an invidious intent or purpose?
It's not clear to me what they are referring to when they say the current marriage provisions.
Well, let's say that's Prop 22.
You are, this is not referring to long-standing and current marriage provisions? I'm sorry, I just need a little more context for this to be able to assess it.
You were an expert in this case, right?
Yes, I submitted an affidavit in this case.
Yes, it's Prop 22. That's at issue here.
Okay, I'm just sorry, I need a little more context to understand what they're saying.
Well, let me just ask, wholly apart from what they're saying, let me ask you what your opinion is. Do you have an opinion as to whether Proposition 22 in California was passed because of invidious discriminatory intent?
Again, I believe it reflected a belief in the inequality of gay relationships.
And then the question becomes, what's the source of that belief? And do you believe that it was reflected in an invidious animus and hatred of gays and lesbians?
I think that to talk about hatred of lesbians and gay men would only account for some, that there are others who would not certainly express hatred toward lesbians and gay men, but would still regard them as unequal and their relationships as not deserving the same status and rights as heterosexual relationships do. And I think that that's premised on a belief in the inferiority of such relationships.
Professor, I'd like to direct your attention to tab 17. This is DIX 81. It's an excerpt from Jonathan Rauch's book, which is entitled Gay Marriage: Why It Is Good for Gays, Good for Straights, and Good for America. And you're aware of Mr. Rauch? Do you know of him?
I know of him.
Yes. Your Honor, we would ask the court to take judicial notice of DIX 81.
Very well.
And Professor, I'd like to direct your attention to page 7 of this book. On the right-hand column, third sentence from the bottom, Mr. Rauch is an advocate for same-sex marriage, correct?
Yes.
And he's openly gay, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And he says, some gay marriage opponents may be bigoted or homophobic or otherwise out to get gay people, but most of them are motivated by a sincere desire to do what's best for their marriages, their children, their society. Isn't it true that there are some people among the 7 million Californians who voted for Prop 8 who fall into precisely this category?
You know, it's very difficult for me to know the variety of reasons in which people oppose marriage. It's easier for me to comment on the sort of arguments that were made against marriage equality by the Prop 8 advocates than to assess the various reasons that people might have opposed this.
So you just don't know why people opposed Prop 8, supported Prop 8?
Well, I assume that there were a range of reasons that people supported Prop 8, but that the underlying premise of them was that gay relationships were unequal.
But were some of the people within that range? And I understand it's a range that there are all sorts of reasons, but would some of the people in California, some of the 7 million who voted for Proposition 8, fall into the category that Mr. Rauch indicates here?
Yes, but we have to ask why people believe that opposing marriage equality is best for their marriages, their children, and society.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to permission to play a very short video, which is DIX 2553.
DIX again?
2553, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, before we play it, might we have a description of it so I know whether to object or not?
Yes, this is a video of Carrie. It's a very short video which has the excerpt of Carrie Prejean's statements and then Mayor Gavin Newsom's reaction as to her motivation for having the religious convictions she has. So I think it speaks directly to the issue we're talking about, which is why is it that some people were opposed to same-sex marriage in California?
Your Honor, I would object that it's not relevant, one individual's reasons.
I'm much more interested in what Mayor Newsom has to say about it, Your Honor.
I'm really more interested in what the witness has to say.
Well, as...
If it ties into this witness's testimony, well, I think it's appropriate.
Yes, Your Honor. And the reason it ties into what is being said is it goes to... He was asked about the purposes behind Prop 8. He testified to that. And I've been asking him about why it is that some people, he's just testified there's a range of reasons why people supported Proposition 8. Mayor Newsom makes a statement about that, and I'd like his reaction, whether he agrees with Mayor Newsom.
Your Honor, we didn't put this witness up, and the witness's testimony has been about the history of discrimination and the backdrop in the campaign messaging. And I think this whole line of testimony is going beyond the scope of direct, and I think we're getting even further out on a limb with these kind of extraneous little bits of video and asking him to comment on what he believes other people's intent may have been, particular people. So I think it's way beyond the scope, and it's also not relevant.
Well, it does appear to certainly push the outer boundaries of the scope of direct examination. Let's see where it goes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And see what the witness's reaction is to the statement.
Okay. Would you agree, Professor, with Mayor Newsom, that some people who take the position that Carrie Prejean did are simply speaking their conscience?
Objection, Your Honor. Vague.
Sustained.
We'll move on, Your Honor. The quest for equal rights in marriage has always been a contentious issue within the gay movement itself, correct?
Initially, it was much more contentious. I think that there's been a shift amongst gay activists who fairly widespread support of gay marriage.
But it's always been a contentious issue, correct?
Again, I think there's been a shift in the tenor of that debate amongst gay activists, so that it was very contentious at one point, and there's much more widespread support for this now.
There was a time when support for gay marriage was a distinctly minority position in the lesbian and gay community, correct?
Amongst lesbian and gay activists, people who were lesbian and gay organizers, there was minority support. Certainly, we have indications of this. Amongst ordinary lesbians and gay men, indications would be otherwise, actually. There probably was more support early on.
Isn't it true that one critic in a New York newspaper wrote, "This isn't the freedom we want"? And this was a gay writer.
What's the date on that?
It's in your book, Why Marriage, at page 93.
I know, and I would like to get the date on it.
Sure, it's page 93. That's behind tab 6 now. Your book has footnotes, and so we may not, but I'm happy to let you look at it to see if it refreshes your recollection. The newspaper was called 93, sir, and it's a newspaper entitled Gay Power. So I don't know if that helps with the date because maybe it was only printed for a while.
Yeah, right. Okay. It was a fairly short-lived publication, late 60s, early 70s.
Okay. And that editorial captured the dominant spirit among gay male liberationists for whom liberation centered on sexual liberation, correct?
Yes. I believe it reflected dominant attitude of gay activists at that time.
And it is pretty clear that the majority sentiment among gay rights activists was not interested in marriage as an issue at that time, correct?
At that time, that's probably correct.
Okay. And most lesbian feminist activists were even less interested in pursuing marriage rights, correct?
That's probably correct, yes.
This was the 1960s.
And 70s?
1960s and 70s we're talking about.
Yes.
That was the height of the sexual revolution.
And after an initial flurry of activity, marriage virtually disappeared as a goal of the gay rights movement, correct?
Yes, because as I pointed out in the book, there were actually a number of lesbian and gay activists who did seek the right to marriage, though it was due them, they thought it was due them as it was to heterosexuals, but it receded as an issue for a while.
But the courts dismissed their petitions as preposterous, right?
Yes.
And both lesbian and gay activists agreed, correct?
I think for many people in that period, the idea that the courts would recognize gay couples' right to marry just seemed unimaginable.
And that was true of gay rights activists too, correct?
Yes.
Now, some feminists, such as the founder of the ACLU's Lesbian and Gay Rights Project, Nan Hunter, regarded marriage as a more flexible institution, which had been profoundly changed since 1970s and would be changed again by the inclusion of same-sex couples, correct?
I believe that was the argument that Nan Hunter made.
And some gay men and lesbians felt making marriage a central movement goal, or even supporting it, would dishonor the innovative forms of intimacy that had taken shape in their culture, correct?
Would you refresh me on what period we have moved into in this account?
Well, we can look at your book, page 121.
So I think in this section I'm describing the emergence of the debate over within the gay community over marriage in the 80s and early 90s, and when it became more of an issue again and received extensive attention. And certainly some gay activists opposed the movement for marriage equality, and I'm beginning here to describe that sort of period in which the shift in sentiment occurred, in which the right to marry became a more widespread and deeply held goal of many gay activists.
Your Honor, I was wondering if we might take our morning break sooner rather than...
I was thinking maybe you were close to finishing with this witness.
I think if I have a break, I might be able to separate some of the wheat from the chaff and streamline this a little bit. I'm getting closer, Your Honor.
Well, a promise to separate wheat from chaff is one that I cannot turn down. We'll take until 15 minutes after the hour.
Thank you, Your Honor.